What is up guys, Andy Forrestine Runner here, and today we're talking all about the Hoka One One Rocket X on the speed test and the long run test. Lost GPS and I'm trying to wait for it to pick back up, but I'm just running with no timing going. I have no idea what I'm doing. So obviously not shoe related, but this is a bit of a nightmare. Still, no signal. I'm at about 7.5 miles now. Luckily I'm doing a 2 and a bit mile loop, so I know where each mile marker is. But I stopped the watch at 6.12 and I'm on about 7.5, and I got no pace data. All I know is that I don't feel like I'm dropping intensity, I'm just carrying on. But I'm hoping I might be able to get a couple more miles recorded on this thing just to make sure I am still on pace. Who knows?
And there we go. Not only did the watch die, but the camera died as well. I can't tell you what was going through my head at that moment in time. It was a real panic, which I'm really ashamed to say it, because I do pride myself on not worrying about technology, but I think when you're trying to run to pace and your watch just goes, it just completely throws you. So what I had to do then is just flip on the heart rate monitor screen and just go by heart rate. Literally, I knew when I started my run, so I had the manual clock on my watch and I was just like, right, I've got to run another 20-25 minutes, whatever it was, and I just stuck in and around the same heart rate. It crept up a bit, but I knew that I just had to hold pace, and then from there, I knew roughly where it ended up being just over a 3 mile loop home. I mapped it out when I got home just to make sure I put the right distance in on Strava. So we ran just over 13 miles for the long run in this shoe. Lots to talk about, more thoughts to share with you, but first we'll recap the speed. So I undenied about recording another speed test, and I won't keep you because I just decided not to, but I decided the first impressions test that I did in this thing with the 200 meter repeats and then the 15-minute tempo is actually sufficient for the speed test in the shoe, because actually if I was to do any testing in any shoe, I'd be delighted to get that workout done in it and really class it as a good solid speed workout. So just a quick recap on the shoe at those high intensities. Obviously the thing that stood out for me on the day was how easy it moved through the gears from the zones. We did the warm up and the cool down in this shoe at a 7-minute and 8-minute mile pace, and then we literally ramped it up, did the 200 meter repeats at just over 5-minute per mile pace, and then a 15-minute tempo run at 6-minute per mile pace. So literally this thing had the full treatment, and what really shone for me was how it didn't feel clunky or anything at the lower speeds, but when it did get going, it really felt, I really felt the turnover. Someone actually made a comment and it literally summed it up perfectly. Where you lose, you don't get the pop in the shoe like you do with the Endorphin Pro, but actually what you get instead is you get that gliding sensation, and it very much is sacrificing pop for gliding. When you land in the Endorphin Pro and the Next Percent and other shoes, as you land, you kind of feel that pop as you go. You kind of feel that tiny bit of extra propulsion. I just don't feel that in this shoe, but what I do get is this seamless land, kick, roll, just go, go, go. And that's what you get with the Meta Rocker. I think the Meta Rocker takes away that propulsion element from the plate, but what it does is it gives you that smoother gait cycle. So where you're sacrificing the pop, you're gaining that smoothness. Anyway, enough of covering old ground. Let's move on to the long run test. How did this thing perform? And when we're doing a long run test, as always on the channel, I like to think about how did the shoe feel at the time? Am I getting any hot spots, any blisters? How do my feet feel after the run? Do they ache? Are they sore? And how do my legs and body feel in general? Because sometimes, obviously, if you're running in a harder foam shoe or something with a bit less drop, a little less support, you can feel a little bit more beat up after it. But obviously with these carbon plate super shoes that we're all testing testing out at the moment, you kind of expect to have a really good result at the end of it, and how your legs feel kind of determines how far you take the shoe. Is it from a distance perspective? I can pretty much tell straight away from a long run test what type of distance I would take the shoe up to. Is it a half marathon shoe, so on and so forth. And I'm pleased to say that this thing was absolutely beautiful. Not only was it smooth as butter running, but my legs felt great afterwards as well. I did actually have an existing niggle in my foot that I was running with, which I will document in my 10K video, which isn't stopping me running, just something I'm managing at the moment. But bar that, which I'm pretty confident has not been caused by the shoe, my legs felt absolutely brilliant. And they felt, when I took them off, no hot spots, no rubbing, no nothing. Sometimes with these higher backs and these Achilles area where you've got the material coming up a bit higher, some people that suffer with Achilles issues can struggle with these type of shoes. They kind of like it cut off a little bit more around there, so there's less rubbing. So just beware that that is there. But for me, absolutely nothing at all. And what was amazing about this shoe was that the gliding sensation basically stuck with me from beginning to end. From the beginning to an hour and a half, I just felt like I moved super smoothly through my gait cycle from the start to the end. So where do I stand with my overall thoughts on this shoe now that the speed test and the long run test is done? Well, naturally I would normally have done a first impressions standard run and then a speed and long run test. So mileage in the shoe so far is still only a couple of runs and still quite minimal, but I have to say I am highly impressed from the offset. I have to say Hoka, in my opinion, have done really well to kind of take the Carbon X and make a big step forward in the shoe. I think it's a competitor with some of the other super shoes. As I said to you earlier, it depends what you want in your shoe. The Meta Rocker, as someone rightly put in the comments, takes away that pop sensation. So if you want a smooth shoe that's going to ride you through the gait cycle, then honestly, look no further than this shoe. And for £140, it's just such a bargain. But if you're looking for something with a little bit more pop and mentally makes you feel like you're going a bit faster, then perhaps you might want to look down the Endorphin Pro. New Balance Fuel Cell RC, I'm assuming, feels the same. I haven't tested that. The Next Percent, those sorts of shoes. But overall, a massive step forward for Hoka in my opinion, and I think where they've just done much better is the midsole. The midsole is head and shoulders above what it was in the Carbon X. Now I love the Carbon X, but I can safely say this is much better, and for me, another few iterations of this shoe and we could be talking about a serious competitor in the super shoe realm. I'm not saying it's not, but I'm saying that this thing for me is more of a glider, more than a poppy, sharp, kind of, you know, this for me in my rotation would be perfect for marathon training long runs. 22 miles, this thing would be an absolute gem. Would I run a marathon in it? 100%. This shoe would take me the distance. I know it would, and it would feel great doing it. So this thing I would certainly look at using from the half marathon to marathon distance. If I wanted something a bit poppier on the shorter distance, I probably wouldn't use this thing. So for me, in the realm of the half to the full is probably the shoe's sweet spot. There we go, those are my overall thoughts on the Hoka One Rocket X. Overall, an absolute gem. I'm absolutely delighted with what Hoka have done with this shoe. I think it's a big step forward, and I think, as I said earlier, we can look forward to some exciting things with some more iterations of this type of shoe in the future. And let's hope the Carbon X goes down a similar line, because I think if you had a couple of shoes that you can mix and match between like this, ooh, you really could stick to one brand, because for me, Hoka have done really well this year. I've got the Torrent 2, got the Rincon, got the Rocket X, and those trios. I've got a trail shoe, I've got, I won't swear, I've got the Rincon, which can be literally anything, is a great tweener shoe, as Seth would say, and I have a racer here. So you really could stick with one brand if you really like what Hoka are doing. And let me know if you do that in the comments below, and let me know if you have this shoe in the comments below, how you're getting on with it, what you think of it, and are you as excited as I am to put more miles in this thing and start ramping up the miles in it. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed it, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Until then.